What's up guys? So I've done a lot of videos in the past on different types of case fans, and usually they're round or square, whichever way you want to see them. But I thought I'd actually reach out there and have a look at something different. And I managed to pick these ones up. These are the, I don't really know how you pronounce the name, it's Abkoncore Spider Spectrum fans. They're a little bit different to the other fans that I've looked at. They are RGB, they do come with controllers, but they're in a totally different shape, and that's what I thought we'd have a look at today. So I thought these fans were pretty unique when I saw them. I originally picked them up for a specific build, the Halo build, but because the way that we actually did that build, if you've watched that video, you'll see that we weren't going to see the fans anyway, so there was no point actually putting these in the end. But I thought we'd have a look at them anyway. If we have a look at some of the specs, and I'll just go through what's on the box. The bearing type on these are a hydro bearing. The fan speed RPM is 1300 RPM. The airflow on them is 34.34 CFM with an air pressure of 1.51 millimeter and a noise level of 25 dB. Now it does say on the adverts for these that you can use them on radiators as well as cases, but I'm not sure how well that would actually work. I'd have to compare the specs with other models out there. But we'll crack it open, we'll have a look at what we actually get. So straight away we've got a bit of a packet there with a remote control and an RGB hub. We get lots of little bags of different types of screws and things, and one thing that they have included in this is these little rubber mounts to stop any kind of vibration. So that's pretty good that they've included that, as well as the screws as well. And there's plenty there for every fan that's in the kit. This is a kit of 3. Although you can buy them individually. What I tended to find on the pricing was that individually they were about £14 each. The packs of 3, if you look on somewhere like Amazon, were a lot more expensive than that, obviously. But I managed to actually pick this whole pack of 3 up for about £15 off eBay, and that was delivered as well. So you could probably do the same. Make sure you just take a look out there if you want to look at them. Take the fans out and let's take a look. So we've obviously got a bit of a cable on these with a proprietary connection, which means we're probably going to have to use the hub that they provide. But generally, they're much more sturdy than I thought they were going to be. Because of the way that they were designed, I wasn't sure exactly how this back panel was going to actually sit, but it seems to be quite square and quite stable and rigid. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit weak because obviously you're missing the sides of the fan here and here, which would add extra strength. The RGB is only present in the front. I thought it was in the back when I was looking at the videos on these, but clearly it's just that somebody's fit them the other way around to take the videos. Each corner does come with rubber mounting, and you can fit them either in the front or in the back. You just got to make sure that you don't cover up the lighting. The way that the fan is actually, or the blades of the fan are actually laid out, it seems that they are a bit more of a hybrid fan, so they probably would work fine on a radiator anyway. So if we take a look at the hub, we've got a bit of a Velcro sticky pad so we can stick it somewhere in the case. It's a shame it didn't come with a magnet, because obviously for the general price of these, you'd expect them to come with something like that. But okay, they've given us some sticky, they've given us some Velcro, that's fine. On the cables that we've got on here are a Molex, which again is probably a little bit of a shame because most of them nowadays come with SATA. So you've got to make sure you've got a Molex if you're doing that, or at least an adapter from SATA to Molex. We have a bit of a, what appears to be like a wireless signal. I'm not sure whether these are RF or IR, but it seems that this may have to be in a visual place that the remote control can see it, but we'll give that a test anyway. So that's what we actually get first plugged into the kit. Separate to that, we do have a 3-pin to what is classed as the, I think it's the 6-pin connection that they give us, and that appears to fit into a section on here which is for motherboard sync. So that's actually a great feature. This controller can sync to a motherboard on a 3-pin ARGB connection, so that's pretty cool. The controller itself has space for up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fans, as well as an LED, it says LED switch, I'm not sure what that is yet, but we'll have to check the instructions. And then we've got buttons on the top to be able to change the LED speed, change the fan speed, and also change the mode. So I assume that's going to change the colour scheme or colour system that you're going to get on there. But you can also do it via the remote control that they've provided, where we've got a set of colours, we've got fan speeds, LED speeds, we've got these Q sections here, which are usually like presets on and off, as well as our fan speeds, modes and hold, so you can actually freeze it where it needs to be, as well as the motherboard sync button. So you don't really need to use the controller if you've got the remote control. Let's get these hooked up to a power supply and we'll see what kind of colours we've got on them. Sometimes they're quite vibrant, sometimes they're a little bit pale, but we'll see with these ones. Looking at the box, it appears that they're going to be quite vibrant, but you never know till you've actually got them on, particularly with the photographs changing the way that they work. So I've got my trusty power supply that I made a while ago. If you didn't watch the video on that, make sure you do. It's quite fun. It's just basically a power supply in a box with a bridge connection so that when we hit this switch, the power supply will come on. We'll connect it up via Molex, which is lucky that I've got it on that power supply. It was an old one, so chances are it would have a Molex. So we've got the hub connected. We'll connect up the fan to one of the fan headers. They're not really numbered, so I don't believe that there is a specific order. You can just plug them in any, like that. And we'll hit the power and see what happens. So the fan has come on. It's not very fast as default. I wonder if we can actually change that. We'll hit the fan speed button. It's actually slowing down. I can't really tell much of a difference in the speed, to be honest, but it is producing quite a bit of air and it's quite silent. There's not really any kind of noise coming off of it anywhere. And as you can see, the lights are going up in a red format. If we change the mode onto green, blue, yellow, it's got a pretty cool white. Then we've gone to some solid colours. We'll flick through them. It's quite cool actually because the LEDs are independent. They're not actually replicating across. They're independent of each other. So it's probably going to be able to do some really cool patterns. Although I would suspect that every fan will be a duplicate of the other fans. So you're not going to be able to get any kind of flow through it. But again, we'll test that when we put them together. We take the remote. I was trying to find the rainbow setting, but it doesn't seem to be that easy for us to be able to find. So there you go, the remote's working. It does have to actually point. If we point away, it's not doing anything. We do have to point it at that little IR sensor. So that's going to become quite annoying because you're going to have to mount it in your case somewhere that you can point the remote to. It would have been better if they'd have not included that and just put it as like the normal ones do, really. Well, the cues don't seem to do much at all. So we'll go back through the modes. To be honest, it'll probably take you a long time to find a mode on this that will work. So we've got white. If we go through the modes now, quit using the remote. You can't see the sensor very well. So it does seem quite limited at the moment on how you can actually set it up in terms of colours. There's no real, I mean, we've got the Q settings on here and we can set them, but they're not really doing a lot. Or not giving us any kind of like real rainbow effect. I could imagine it's going to take a while to actually set these up to the way that you want it. Or you can just actually sync it up to your motherboard, put it onto another controller that works probably way better in your motherboard and drive it through software. And you could probably get a much better feel for that. We'll mount it in the case and we'll have a look at how they look together. We'll dig out a case from the inventory and we'll take a look. Okay, so I've pulled our case. It's a Techware Forge M. I've pulled it out of inventory, removed all the fans out the front and took all the panels off, and we're just going to fit these in to the front and see how they actually look when they're inside a case. So we'll start getting them fitted and we'll see how strong they actually are once you start screwing them in with the screws. Take that out of the controller. We'll feed the cables through the side of the case. And we'll rotate them that way, because obviously you can put them either way that you want. You can have them so that the LEDs are that way, but we want them to actually go up in a line up the front of the case. So we'll stick these fans in and we'll see how they go. Okay, so we've got those installed in the case now, and there's a few little quirks that you need to be aware of when you're doing it. So you've got to make sure that the fans are actually the right way up. If your LEDs are actually going up the LED and you put a fan the other way around, what you'll find is one will be going down, whereas the others will be going up. So we learned that the hard way, and we made sure that we flipped them around so that they all matched. It's also worth noting that the plastic that these are made out of is quite thick and very strong. So trying to actually screw the fan mounting screws in was quite difficult, and nearly rounded off a couple of screws doing it. So that was a bit of a concern, but obviously you could use those rubber little bungs if you wanted to do it that way instead. It's not impossible, but it was just a little bit difficult to do. But we'll flick the switch and we'll show you what they're like. So this is them now with the light on. The light isn't as bright as I thought it was going to be. The actual white plastic they've used here disperses the light. It disperses it quite well, but it also kind of gives it a bit of a faded look. But they're working, and they all seem to work a little bit in tandem, although they are, as I suggested before, just a duplicate of each other. So you can't actually have a colour going up through with the controller that you've got there. Now maybe there is something you can do better from motherboard programming by connecting it to the motherboard. But if we flick through a few modes, and this again is where it came to a little bit more difficult, because I've actually got the hub hanging out the back so that it goes to my power supply, which means there's a little IR sensor for the remote, which is just about here. I can't reach it with a remote from anywhere, so you're going to have to make sure that you fit the controller somewhere up front and then put that little IR remote either in your side panel window or sticking it out through the front so that you can get through your mesh or whatever you've got on the front of your case. But generally, they look okay, they fit okay, they're much stronger than I thought they were going to be. And we can just cycle through some of the modes just like this. Again, it's going to be quite difficult to set the modes using the controller because it is just a single switch. The remote control's a little bit more advanced, but I couldn't really find anything that was excellent to be able to go by. I still haven't found any kind of rainbow effect, although I know that it can do it because they are ARGB, and obviously that can do that. Overall, I'm impressed with the quality of the fans. They're built extremely well compared to what I thought they were going to be. I'm not as impressed with the LED lighting effects that they come with, but I could probably resolve that with a bit of motherboard. And the way that they fit just doesn't really seem to have that quality built in. But they're going to be useful. They're going to be extremely cool in some kind of build somewhere because of the unique design they are. Obviously, the middle fan doesn't actually light up. It's just these extra pieces here. Now, these are called the Spider fans. And I'm not sure why, because they don't really look like a spider at all. What they kind of look like to me was more like a TIE fighter, and that probably would have been a better name for it. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments if you've got any of these or if you're thinking about getting them. Is there any concerns that you have or any issues that I should look out for going forward? And I'll catch you in the next one.